Okay, I start from my career path. By the way, I joined the Mercari 8 months ago, I think. I have I started my career from like very much non-technical. I have very much non-technical background. But I think my desire to resolve a bigger problem happened to like opportunistically led me to become more like technical position, lots to deal with engineers. And then you can see inside of parentheses after like product management in AdTech, you can see intensive full stack engineering for 3 months. This was one of my hardest time, but I put myself into it because I thought I need a breakthrough. So I learned what it's like to be engineering. Of course, I can't master anything within 3 months, but it helped me a lot to understand what it's like to build things by myself. So I have a little bit of experience in a product management, like plus 5 years also before coming to Mercari. Okay, so that's me. And then what I do in Mercari, I see myself in 3 hats. Like one position in Mercari, you can also apply, or I don't know if you can apply, but yeah, basically, I definitely would like to encourage female technical position in a product development. And then, yeah, I happen to become product team head in a domain named CRM and marketing automation. And I'm also technical product manager. And then I also see myself in a product owner. So let me go through one by one. So what is product team in a Mercari? So we have a so-called camp system introduced in 2020 this year. This is supposed to act more or less like independently, and then have like some sort of engineers have a different skill set should be gathered, and then all the have a clear source code ownership. Yeah, so this is my team. And then I am pairing with my engineering head to oversee this team. Unfortunately, yeah, 1 designer and 2 QA are QA and designers are treated as a shared resource in Mercari, but they are pretty much dedicated to our product team. And then team's responsibility regards to source code. We have currently 6 microservices, 2 client SDKs, a few screens in Mercari apps, 4 tools for marketers mainly, for campaign and incentives, including 2 monolithic applications. So you can kind of like see the complexity in a product team. And then I personally would like to talk about this. So this is the boundaries I eventually discovered being in this team. Yeah, so the black component is basically like some sort of microservice or some sort of service owned by different product team. So as you can see, like, you know, if we would like to consume certain interface and then don't understand certain specs written in a doc, we have to talk to external teams. So even though we're supposed to have some level of independency, yeah, we are still like have a lots of opportunity as a, you know, if you happen to be a product head, you have a lots of opportunity to talk to external team to optimize the boundaries or, you know, ask for collaboration. And then the grayish components are, I try to explain this. This is basically the Mercari app screens. Yeah, so I think my team's characteristics in mobile, developers is basically we don't own so much of own screens. We we kind of like deploy something on someone else's screen. So one day we had like one developer was telling me that he can't even do the unit test because there was like some sort of dependency to someone else's code. So we couldn't really write a unit test or something. So as you can see, like there's a boundaries which you have to deal with. So for all sorts of like external teams communication, I try to be a help to make collectively good product decisions. So going to technical product manager position, so we call TPM in acronym, is a product manager with technical background. So what you mean with technical background? I mean, I don't necessarily, I try to, I like this title, but at the same time, I feel like positive pressure out of it. But primarily, I see myself like, I have to be a product manager before anything. And then, I have technical titles. So, as it says, like technical knowledge is particularly helpful to make my teams and the product succeed. I hope I can contribute in that. And then we are also especially encouraged to chase after long-term technical roadmap for the product. So that is, I think Mercari is trying to encourage PM to see the things in the long term. Okay. And then finally, I think majority of time I'm taking the hats of product owner, which I enjoy the most. Not every product head is maybe part of the daily Scrum, but I like being a part of the daily Scrum and then, communication per backlog. So this is part of my team. So the majority of time I spend discussion with engineers to make the product better. So that's my 3 hats. So going to what I do in a team, like what my team is doing. It was interesting to hear from Kim-chan that she has been also touching something related to notification in her past career, past position. And then I have also happened to see Tim-san is in the audience. He used to be working in the team I am working currently. I happen to not meet him, but I have been seeing his name over everywhere in the code base. So nice to see you here. I hope we can talk later. So anyway, so I think it's easy to understand what I do by, what is the user's touch point looks like. So these are the notifications coming from our toolings. In-app notifications, email notification, push notification, all sorts of things tailored by the marketers or product managers, kind of like our system is involved. And banners, call to actions, so these things are controlled by our toolings also, and then also incentivize users for doing something. So these are also one of our domain. So we have also the toolings, what I meant with looks as this. So basically the admin portal where the product managers or marketers can provision and manage contents such as in-app landing pages. Or like solutions to provision manage campaigns and incentives. So going back to, myself, so I would like to share like little likes in Mercari product development, my personal likes. So Mercari has these 3 values, go bold, all for one, be a pro. These values, we have actually lots of stamps related to these values in a Slack channel, and then I can see like daily conversation between PM or developers, or like developers talking to each other across the product teams, are also using this label to encourage each other. So I think this is the in a daily use and I see the positive stuff out of there. And then my personal likes, fun Slack names like Shukrim-san or like Yudofu-san. Someone who doesn't know Japanese, Yudofu is cooked tofu. Yeah, so you see like all sorts of crazy names in a Slack channel, which is kind of fun. And then I have recently found like interesting Slack bot built by, I think it's an outcome of Hack Week or something, but in a catalog listing team, like Heavenly Boys, which proactively assigns a code reviewer, which I hope we can have in our team too. And then I also see like interesting label like Spark Joy when the Android engineer were refactoring the code base, they were labeling this Spark Joy, which I also liked. The little struggle I had in the beginning, but now I'm okay, is like crazy number of Slack channel. I heard a rumor that the number of Slack channel is like way more than the number of employee. In the beginning, I was really overwhelmed, and I thought I will never manage. But now I feel like it's okay. It's okay to ignore. I'm just hope that people forgive me one day. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to, be always available, but developers are going crazy with Slacks. And then the last things I would like to mention is my growth opportunity in Mercari product dev. I think this is very much, I personally think this might be useful if you are curious about like applying to Mercari. I personally see like product development decision on microservice architecture has been very much tough, but like positively tough. I personally think like this is much more difficult than monolithic architecture development for PM. So you need to be good at abstraction, sorting, and naming, and this is one of the difficult things. So I think I see as a positive challenge, daily manner. And then also like, this is nothing unique in Mercari. I have been seeing this as a challenge in a previous company too, but backlog optimal granularity. So it's very difficult to see, how we better scoping each backlogs, and then how we manage the granularity of backlog to be able to help the team to oversee the overall backlogs assigned to the sprint. And then also like how to split and share Mercari app development within teams. In a previous company, and then before that too, I never had had to share with so many PMs or so many product team about like components of the one single product. So which is exciting, and then also at the same time very much challenge to seek for the optimal dependency and then boundaries. And then I personally like the fact that Mercari app is mature enough to have like so much data you can query, and then you as a PM, you have access to BigQuery. I think all the marketers also have access to BigQuery. BI, of course, you have access to BigQuery. Engineer, you have access to BigQuery. I think even customers service team has access to BigQuery. So I think if you like querying the data by yourself, I think Mercari is the heaven. And then I personally had a less experience with A/B testing. I see A/B testing as a last mile optimization. Mercari this year released like a system to do the A/B testing, and then you can configure on GUI as a PM the A/B testing threshold of the feature. So it's kind of like encouraged to do lots of testing about like effectiveness of the feature and then validate your assumption. So I'm just starting to learn about it. It's exciting. Then last things is, sorry for the long talk. Yeah, Camp QA. So Mercari is actually currently assigning like a dedicated QA, descending the dedicated QA to each product team. But from the next quarter, we will not have that luxury, which will challenge us to be responsible about also like quality assurance. Yeah, which is a challenge. I am also encouraged to be a part of like thinking about QA strategy in the early stage of the product development. I am just learning currently, so I think there are lots of growth opportunities if you come into Mercari. Okay, thank you for listening. That's it from myself.